been around for 70 years, and in that 70-year existence, the NBA has given the world some of the biggest personalities that we'll never forget. Just think of the likes of Dennis Rodman, Allen Iverson, and you'll understand what we mean. The great thing about the NBA, which is also what makes it different from other sports in the world, is that the league has always actively allowed its players to freely express themselves, and let the big personalities drive the league as part of the brand. We've seen this with legendary players like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, just to mention a few. And maybe in a few years, Giannis Antetokounmpo will join those elite players. With the development of the internet and social media, this has been further amplified as players utilize Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms to show fans what they get up to on a daily basis. The negative part about this is that it often leaves players open for criticism, hate, and envy, as if they don't have enough to deal with. For instance, people criticize LeBron for being arrogant. Some people even say that he should be more than Jordan. But are you kidding me? Jordan is like the biggest jackass the league has ever seen. Maybe not the biggest, but he's obviously a much bigger jackass than LeBron can ever aspire to be. For today, we'll be looking at many stories that didn't exactly make the headlines. Maybe because there was no social media around, or maybe because there wasn't 24-hour sports coverage. Many NBA players come from humble backgrounds. Some even have it tough before their sudden rise to stardom, going from having little change in their accounts to millions of dollars. So you can expect some crazy things to happen. So here are some of the craziest NBA stories nobody mentions and have forgotten about. Luckily, you've got the latest hoops, and we've got you covered. A lot of basketball players are known to have an amazing level of confidence. I mean, just take a look at Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron, and you'll see what we're saying. It's that kind of confidence that almost humiliated Jason Terry. This interesting story happened way back in October 2010 at a preseason get-together with Terry and his teammates. During this get-together, Terry rolled his sleeve and showed his teammates his new tattoo. And lo and behold, it was a tattoo of the Larry O'Brien trophy on his right bicep. Most of his teammates thought that Terry was crazy, something everyone else that saw the tattoo pretty much thought. And the reason was this. The Mavs were a good team that year, but saying they would win the league was like saying a mountain would move. It seemed more like a dream rather than something being fueled by sheer confidence. Another thing was the fact that there were better teams more fancied to win the championship that year. It was around the time when LeBron had just made one of the biggest moves in the history of the league by signing for Miami Heat, and people had every belief that the Big Three would dominate the league.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
As Mother Luck would have it, or the God of Luck would have it, it was the Miami Heat Terry and his teammates would face in the finals. And Terry made sure he was at his best to ensure that his impulsive preseason decision was the right one, by dropping 19 first-half points in Game 6 to help the Mavs win the championship 4-2. Dallas won their championship and his prediction turned out right. Just imagine someone had placed a huge bet on his confidence. Might have been a millionaire now. Also imagine if they didn't end up winning the championship. The embarrassment would have been crazy and Terry would have been a laughingstock.
I'm serious, baby. We're going to win it all this year. Right here. I got a tattoo to prove it.
It's a sweet joy, sweet vindication, and I'll never forget this day.
Larry Bird is one of the best players to ever grace the game, and there's no trash talker in the history of the game that can match up to him. He took that shit to another level. Not even LeBron or Dennis Rodman could compare. Larry was just on another level. But Larry Bird wasn't just all mouth. He had the actions to back it up, and that's what made him a beast. As good as Larry was at trash talking, he was even better at basketball, and that's what made him invincible. Even Michael Jordan has confessed that he learned trash talking from Larry. For Larry, trash talking was an art, and he defined it. There have been dominant teams in the NBA like the 95-96 Bulls and the recent 25-2016 Golden State Warriors. But the 1985-86 Celtics are arguably the most dominant team in the single regular season with 67 wins. They were so good that it got to a point when Larry Bird decided that he was going to play part of the game against the Trailblazers on Valentine's Day with his left hand. And he did. Larry scored 22 of his 47 points with his left hand and even hit the game-winning shot, although this was with his right hand. So why did Larry do this? It was simple. The answer is arrogance, at least to us. Larry told reporters that he was saving his right hand for the Lakers game that he and his teammates were due to play in LA 2 days from that day. 24,368 points, 3,394 rebounds, 5,624 assists, an 11-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champion, 3-time steal champion, 1-time MVP, the myth, the legend, the god, it's none other than Allen Iverson. Iverson is a basketball god, and that's a fact. The man could do everything, and on most nights, he put on a show. For many NBA fans, Iverson was a superhero because of the heart and will he put into every game. It's the same attitude that earned him respect among his peers. It didn't matter whether it was in person or in a game, you always got the same AI. In our opinion, you should call Iverson Mr. 2K, as he was the cover athlete for the franchise's first 5 installments. But there is a particular story about one of the most influential basketball players of all time that people don't get to talk about a lot. It was the All-Star Weekend back in 2001, and really no one takes the All-Star Weekend seriously, especially the players. But back in 2001, Allen Iverson took it to another level. Iverson partied for 72 hours non-stop. That's 3 days without sleep. He then turned up on that Sunday for the All-Star game and dropped 25 points, 15 in the final 9 minutes, and was named the game's MVP.
Congratulations, the MVP of the 2001 All-Star Game.
Every NBA fan can testify to the fact that All-Star games are anticlimactic, but the 2001 matchup was different. It was actually a great match, with the East rallying in the last quarter of the game to win 111-110. Iverson put on one of the best performances in history, but the crazy part about that game is that Iverson probably doesn't have much memory about the match himself. For most NBA fans, it's hard to avoid Charles Barkley because he pops up on your screen every now and then saying one thing or the other.
My Sixers guaranteed.
However, during his playing days in the NBA, the man was a beast, and he's often considered as one of the NBA's best players never to win a championship. The man never forgets to wear his heart on his sleeves, so it doesn't take much for you to rile up the outspoken man, and that personality of his has often landed him in trouble throughout his career. Back in 1997, Barkley found himself in a fight after someone threw a drink over him. Charles, as usual, with no freaking chill, promptly went over to the man who was nearly a foot shorter, picked him up, and then threw him through a plain glass window. Barkley didn't seem to care the least about what he had done, so when the judge asked him during the trial if he had any regrets, he said, "Yeah, I regret we were on the first floor." Classic Charles. I guess that's why some of us love him nonetheless. There was no denying that Stephon Marbury had talent, but he never found a team in the NBA where he could settle. He fought with Kevin Garnett at the Wolves. While playing for the Suns, he was awful and was eventually replaced by future MVP winner Steve Nash. At the Knicks, he fell out with almost everyone, which led to Isaiah Thomas calling him the most reviled man in New York. Marbury eventually left the NBA and found home in one of the least places you can think about. Want to guess? It was China. There in China, Marbury is a legend, and he led the Beijing Ducks to 2 Chinese Basketball Association championships. Such was his impact and how much he's respected in China that they built a statue of him in Beijing.
They don't build a statue of you. You said they don't even have a statue of Yao, and you're black.
He also starred in a musical loosely based on his life, and it was titled Marbury: Evolution of the Lone Wolf. Well, if you've seen a video of the performance, you'll know that it was super weird. In the clips, Marbury didn't do much except to walk around fist-bumping and high-fiving his classmates before breaking into some dribbling dance routine. Well, at least the dance is more impressive than all the 5 years he spent in the NBA. What's that phrase again? Love is better with money, and this story is proof of that. Some men just know how to treat a woman, but there are not so many men who can buy their wife an NBA franchise as a gift. Well, that's exactly what entrepreneur Don Carter did when he bought Dallas their first professional basketball team. Carter's wife, Linda Jo, was a basketball fan and guru, and despite admitting that he did not have one single idea about basketball, Carter was stupid enough to promise her a basketball team, and he had to keep that promise. Carter decided to buy the Mavericks, which cost him a whopping $12 million. Mind you, this was in 1978, and $12 million was a lot of money back then. When the Mavs won their first and only NBA championship in 2011, Mark Cuban, as the gentleman he was, allowed Don Carter to accept the trophy with his basketball-loving wife Jo standing by his side. There aren't many love stories with a perfect ending like this. Michael Jordan is arguably the best basketball player the NBA has seen, and the reason we can talk about Jordan like that is because the man was ultra competitive. It didn't matter whether he was playing in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, or playing ping pong at home, or a game of cards. MJ wanted to win, and most of the time, he did. But there was this one time Jordan's own teammate got the better of him. This is a story according to his assistant coach, Johnny Bach, and it goes like this. First of all, Jordan and Scottie Pippen together were the deadliest duo in NBA history, even though Pippen was always under the shadow of Michael Jordan. However, there was one department where Pippen did better than MJ. According to Bach, Pippen was very blessed down below. Pippen also reportedly had a casual relationship with Madonna, and the two would hook up anytime the Bulls were in LA. Jordan couldn't accept this and went over to Madonna to tell her that he could satisfy her way better than Pippen, but Pippen's magic stick had done the trick on Madonna. so Madonna turned Jordan down, saying to him, "Not a chance." Sorry, MJ, guess you can't win them all. But geez, that must have hurt Jordan's ego. So that's it, guys. Don't let anyone tell you less. Size does matter. At the beginning of the video, we mentioned how the NBA has given us some of the most eccentric personalities the world of sport has ever seen, and one of such people is Bison Dele. Most people might have forgotten that name now.
Who?
But Bison Dele during his playing days was one of the most mysterious personalities we've come across. But what was even more mysterious about this man was the way he died. The former NBA player and 1997 champion with the Chicago Bulls was known as Williams. He was a magical forward with unfulfilled potential and off-court interests and issues of dizzying complexity. Just to tell you how strange and weird he came across to both fans and his peers, Williams decided to walk away from the NBA and the $36.4 million left on his contract with the Pistons. According to him, he had earned enough money to walk away, and now he wanted to find himself by going to live a nomad's life literally.
This means the world to me. I can't thank you all enough for embracing me, the coaches, the players, the whole organization. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
If that doesn't sound weird enough, maybe this will. After that, he changed his name from Brian Williams to Dele, bought a yacht he named Hakuna Matata, and wandered the world on it with his girlfriend. His brother, James DeBoard, decided to join, and even though they had a rocky and difficult relationship growing up, Dele agreed to it. What happened next remains one of the biggest mysteries in the basketball world, and in the world of crime investigation. On July 8th, Dele disappeared from the world, never to be heard from again. Although his body was never recovered from the sea, word around town is that the two brothers got into a fight at sea, and DeBoard shot and killed Dele, his girlfriend, and the ship's captain. DeBoard was eventually tracked down in Tijuana, but when they found him, he had intentionally overdosed on insulin, slipping into a coma and eventually dying in 2002. Till this very day, nobody knows exactly what happened at sea, and it appears no one ever will. So that's all, guys, on the craziest NBA stories no one ever mentions.